heaven on earth, we won't wipe ourselves out with nuclear winter. Now, we have peace and happiness on earth, congeniality and conviviality. Well, an asteroid might wipe us out, but a happy civilization would have been wiped out, and some people think, well, a chaotic civilization, the asteroid is doing us a favour, like Noah's floods, a diluvian event. If the asteroid, if the asteroid hits us and only a few people survive, will those few people be able to repopulate the planet? I'm so tempted to drop in a bit of misogyny. What went wrong with Noah's floods? Noah's wife was a drunken idiot. She didn't want to get onto the ark. She wanted to stay with her female mates getting pissed. And the children actually carried her onto the ark. Well, is that true? Or is that something that Benjamin Britten... There's a British composer, Benjamin Britten. He's written a sort of like an opera, if you like, to be staged by a load of children. And in the story, the children, Noah's wife didn't want to get on the ark. She was getting pissed with her mates, and the children carried her onto the ark. Now, was that a big mistake? Look, drop it. Don't get upset. Drop it. If it makes you laugh, it makes you laugh. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If it works for you, take it on board. If it doesn't, your subconscious mind will take on board what it needs. Move on to the next segment of what I say may be of more relevance to you. Right. So, survival of the fittest is also evolution. Survival of the fittest is also non-survival of the unfittest. And evolution, certainly in evolution of species, is heartless. It's absolutely heartless. It's compassionless, ruthless, cruel. Atheist critics of God say, how can God, possibly create a universe where babies are born with serious deformities? They either had horrible lives, or they die within a few days, or stillbirths, miscarriages. How can a God allow a world with so much horror? That wouldn't it be nice if this horror didn't exist? But the thing is that evolution is just evolution. It's constantly survival by adapting to environment. And the environment consists of a load of stuff all evolving. Everything's evolving in relationship to everything else evolving. And what I'm trying to say, evolution itself, all these evolutions are heartless. They are mechanical. Absolutely, 100% mechanical. So there's no heart, there's no love, care, compassion in evolution. And and basically, in the Bible it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, or God was, I don't know, can't remember it. I say evolution equals God equals evolution. God and evolution are two sides of the same coin, and there may not be a God. The God language is something that has evolved as human beings have evolved, as culture has evolved. God language has evolved, and different cultures have come up with different names for God. And I say in all my letters these days, may your favourite gods or saints guide you well. Now, there was a British comedian called Dave Allen. Every show he said, may your God go with you. Well, I've taken that one step further. May your favourite, in this moment you have favourite gods and saints. Next year you might change your mind, have different gods and saints. May your favourite gods and saints guide you well. Now, I have a few gods, if you like, or saints. Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Voltaire, Einstein, Jesus, Muhammad, Margaret Mead. For some reason, Florence Nightingale, she cared about men. She cared about soldiers dying of infection, unnecessary deaths because of lack of hygiene, and Florence Nightingale was a mathematician. She invented the pie chart to explain to the generals why hygiene was necessary to stop soldiers dying of infection. Florence Nightingale is my greatest female hero. There are other funny females like Boadicea, or sometimes I think it's pronounced Boudica or Boadicea. She was this queen, this warrior queen, and she got all her rebellious soldiers, and they took in the Romans, and the Romans bloody massacred them. Some parts of history are very interesting, but I've never been one for doing a detailed study of the past. I'm interested in the future, and when trying to design a good future, there are some lessons from the past which should not be overlooked. So everything evolves now. Okay, I've talked about, there was World War One, which I don't know much about. Well, World War One, there were lots of shifting alliances, apparently. Europe was in a state of, they were scared of various things, and there were shifting alliances. Where World War Two, we know a lot about through TV documentaries, like the Nazis: A Warning from History, and a wonderful documentary, The World at War. And I absolutely love the theme music. La da 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 da. I can't do it justice. The theme tune from The World's at War, absolutely full of emotion, and suffering and sorrow. Wonderful. If music isn't your thing, it isn't your thing. It's no crime to get passionate about music like I do. It's no crime to get passionate about other things other than music. There are no rights and wrongs. As Shakespeare said, there is nothing right or wrong in God's universe, that thinking doesn't make it so. So I'd say I use God language, and I use God language deliberately, even though there might not be a God, even though God might be poetic metaphor. There is everything in God's universe has an upside and a downside. Everything. Now, I do tend to add a little exception. Everything in God's universe has an upside and a downside, except beating yourself up. Deal with your inner critic. Your inner critic is all the bad people in your childhood have taken up residence in your head. They're sort of like demons. They're monsters. There's a film called The Forbidden Planet, and there's this incredible machine which makes people's dreams come true. The civilization that built the machine was wiped out because of monsters from the id, monsters in the subconscious mind. This incredible machine brought those monsters to life, and the monsters wiped out the civilization. Amazing. Apparently my father said it's based on a Shakespeare play called The Tempest, but I don't know about that. The film, The Forbidden Planet, it was done on a budget, but actually they used the money so well. The Forbidden Planet was like a breakthrough in science fiction films, and this topic of an incredible machine, 22 miles long, with dials. Dial number one was number of watts. Units of power. The first dial was units of power, and then tens of units, hundreds of units, thousands of units, millions of units, billions of units. And when this machine turned the monster in their head, they had a steel door. Well, not steel, it was made of an impenetrable metal. This machine, when it created a monster that penetrated this impenetrable door, the dials on the machine went berserk. The amount of power to create a monster from this man's mind. Watch the film. But if science fiction, science fantasy is not your thing, it's okay. There are no rights and wrongs. Nobody should condemn anybody for anything, really. Don't condemn someone for being a nerd or a geek, and don't condemn somebody who. Well, what's that TV program? Where they Beauty and the Geek. These beautiful women who weren't very academic at all. They matched them with these geeks who didn't really care about appearance, but they cared about, they saw them the answer to the meaning of life was to get intellectual, and they put these people together. And the beautiful women, they learnt to appreciate the geeks, and the geeks appreciated the beautiful women, even though they weren't that intellectual. They got to appreciate each other. Wonderful. Don't condemn anyone. Geeks should not stay away from beauties. Beauties should not stay away from geeks, But each their own, make your own choices, but don't condemn the choices of others. Okay. So moving on. So about world wars. Albert, this might be a new segment, okay? When it gets chopped up. Albert Einstein said, I'm going to quote Albert a lot, I don't know how World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. And I'm convinced we are in the middle of World War III, whether we know it or not. There are loads of polarities in this world. Far right versus far left. Pro-abortion versus anti-abortion. Are there other really prominent? There's quite a few polarities. And we're living with the help of the information age, with the help of the internet. The internet is just we're in the middle of a meme war. A concept. A meme is a concept. We're in the middle of a concept war. And people say, well, my concept, my conclusions are better than yours. And the other says, no, my concept, my conclusions are better than yours. We are in the middle of a meme war, and both sides of every argument are inventing new words. And the internet is exaggerating everything. New words, manosphere, mansplaining, feminism, feminazi, feminasty. I mean, both sides are inventing words. It's getting ridiculous. What's needed is to bring the sides together. We need the skills necessary to negotiate fairly and reasonably for workable, long-lasting compromise. But that set of